Hey everybody, welcome to eTrailer.com. I'm Bobby, and today we're taking a look at the Malone Downloader J-Style Kayak Carrier here today on our 2021 Volkswagen Tiguan. Now guys, this is going to be a nice way of giving yourself a little decent kayak carrier to go ahead and assist on, of course, getting that kayak and even that stand-up paddleboard to wherever you guys want to go. So obviously, your J-Style kayak carriers can be a nice little way out of the host of different ways of getting your kayaks out there. Now, I kind of like the J-Style carrier. You're going to see later why. It does have a few little advantages over those saddle style. One big thing for me, leaves you a lot of room here today on your guys' roof. As you guys can see, we have that entire other side. That's going to be great if we want to throw any kind of roof baskets up on there. The Yakima Skinny Warrior comes to mind. But especially with how much space we have here today on the Tiguan, I might see actually a host of different cargo baskets up on there. So that's one nice thing about these. You get a lot of space still on your roof. Now, talking about that though, you do have a weight capacity of about 75 pounds for your kayaks up on here. So that's going to be a pretty decent little set of weight for ourselves for most of our kayaks. I don't think most of us are going to have any issue keeping within that weight requirement for ourselves. Now with that though, make sure you are checking your roofs or your vehicle's owner's manual guide to make sure that your roof's capacity isn't going to be superseded by whatever you throw up on here. And especially with that, make sure you are checking your roof rack system. Today we're utilizing one of the Yakima Jetstream crossbar systems, so that's going to allow us to have 165 pounds of weight capacity. So keep that in mind when you are accessorizing the rest of your roof. Well, the carrier itself does have a couple nice options here too. One thing I really like, this plate on here makes it really easy to get your kayak up on here and shift it up. Now I'm about 6'1" here or so today, guys, so keep in mind, might be a little easier for me to go ahead and throw it up on here for you guys at home. Now if you are struggling with getting your heavy kayak up on here, the Downloader actually does have a nice little attachment port available, allowing us to go ahead and utilize the Telos support system here. Now, I will say, I think we have too long of crossbars for ourselves to take full use of it, but that Telos system does need to go ahead and be put kind of more towards the outside of your vehicle. So nice that we have a little bit of crossbar overhang if we need to start utilizing it, and that way we actually go ahead, slot those guys in, and then you can walk your kayak up and that can get up in position. Now if you don't want to stick with just your J-Style kayak carriers, if you're kind of in that market, kind of getting a little information, one thing that can be nice too is maybe either you looking at the Yakima Showdown or the Thule Holevator. Those are going to have a little bit more of a load assist option on it. Now the Holevator is going to be kind of all the bells and whistles. It has a gas strut load assist option, and that becomes really, really nice because no matter what size your kayak is, it just goes right on up. You almost have to do no work at all. While that Yakima Showdown is going to still kind of give you that same mechanic. However, it's not going to have those gas struts. So it's going to be a little bit harder, but going to be a little bit more on the more economic viable option for ourselves. But again, the Downloader is awesome for that J-Style, guys. I really do like how it works, and that Telos load assist as well. That can be a nice kind of middle ground for people that are just struggling to get your heavy big kayaks 6 feet up in the air. So I totally understand that. You guys also seeing we are getting some straps here today for ourselves. So these straps are decent enough. Now we always kind of recommend to maybe take a look at the eTrailer kayak tie down kit. Innately, that's going to come with a little bit of a better strap upgrade for yourself. Now these guys aren't terrible. The only thing I'm not a big fan though, our cam buckle is exposed. I like that we have this little felt covering on the inside. That does a great job, of course, of making sure that we're not having this contact with our kayak that's going to cause any damage. However, our cam buckle is pretty exposed there. So that eTrailer kit's going to go ahead and completely encase it with felt, which helps protect the cam buckle. And secondly, your kayak and your vehicle from sustaining any kind of damage, because maybe, you know, accidents happen. We go ahead and take this guy off, our cam buckle falls, could damage our roof, so that can be a way of kind of avoiding that. It does come with bow and stern straps as well, and those are being held in by an S-hook. So let's go ahead and see exactly how we are holding this on for our kayak here today. So here we are checking out our bow stern, or our bow strap here today, guys. And as you guys can see, we have that little S-hook there, just right here, one of our frame slots, allowing us to hold on there. That's gonna be very nice for ourselves, of course, to quickly throw in there. Now, one thing I will say, that strap kit will also come with what is commonly referred to as a dog bone. It's just a little foam anchor, makes it really easy to throw inside your hood, bring it right down, gives you a nice little temporary mounting point for yourself. One thing about these S-hooks, again, you are having metal on metal contact, so you might be hearing it, might be scraping a little inside. Now, it's not something I think we're going to be too worried about, but you do have a fixed point, right? And every time we have to go back to there, and you always have to kind of be worried about that frame mount. So those hood anchor options become just nice, is that you're not putting a lot of strain on your frame, and of course you don't have metal on metal contact rattling around, which could be somewhat of an issue, maybe a little annoyance to some. All right, guys, now that we have our bow and our stern straps off, we want to take a look at how our main straps are holding onto our kayak here. So we do have our one end with the cam buckle here and our strap on the other way, just going through. Of course, again, that felt does a pretty decent job if you guys do find yourself close to that kayak. All we got to do, though, is take our little lever here, push it like so. Take this guy out. Now I've gone ahead and ran him here through our downloader here. Just gives us that nice little look there and gives us in that nice little angle. I do want to go ahead and take a note though of how we have this strap ran. So we do have it underneath our crossbar here today and our tower. That's going ahead and just giving a little bit of support there to our carrier. If we were to take a big bump, and that kayak wants to shift out, we're not putting all that pressure just on our bolts here. We are going to go ahead and start utilizing our roof rack system. Now you could go the extra mile and put it through your raised rails here as well. Keep in mind it likes to shift around a little bit, and also you really don't have that much extra strap length here with the Malone downloader innately, and that can be another reason just to go ahead and maybe see if you guys do like that strap kit. Get a little bit of an extra length there for your main elements. And it actually does have a nice little nylon cord to hold them. But these guys are definitely going to do the job. All we have to do now, simply take our strap and pulling on our cam buckle side, bring it through the top. Now, one thing I do like, you guys can see that little plastic holder at the top. That makes mounting this a little easier because all we have to do is set it in place and it'll hang right there. One thing I will say though, if you're a little too fast with your dismount, you can end up popping that plastic tab off. So just going slow and steady like I did, it's going to make for a way better time. Now that we have our bow and our stern straps removed, we can go ahead and grab our kayak here off of our downloader. To do so, you're going to see this little well here. We have a little bit of extra space just because of how our kayak's sitting. What I'm going to do, I'm going to shift that into here. You're going to see the kayak want to rotate towards me, which is great, so I can get underneath it. Now, if you do find yourself somewhat vertically challenged out there, that's totally a-okay. One thing you can do, go ahead and start grabbing the sides here. I like to go ahead and just bring it down and grab it up here. I know my counterpart, Evangeline here, has a little bit of a harder time, so you've gone ahead. If you just use this side here, you can kind of walk it down towards yourself. That can be a nice way of just getting it set in position. But all we want to do, get underneath it here. And you actually can use the side of the downloader too to help with that dismount, and especially mounting. What's great, guys, getting it here in this position and then shifting it up on your carrier. You can see how easy that is to kind of glide. And that becomes a nice little way of getting it mounted and dismounted. Well, now that we have our kayak off, we can go ahead and take a closer look at our carrier itself. You are seeing just this little kind of foam pads here today on the base of the structure, allowing you to have just a little bit of a softer contact. Now it is like a harder rubber, or harder foam, I should say, than you might expect from some of the other styles out there. It is that marine grade though, so it's going to be nice. Going to probably be pretty easy to clean. I think with a quick little scrub, we're going to get most of that dirt and grime out of there with no problem. And the top here too, you do have this marine foam at the top. Now this guy's going to be a little bit softer, and these covers are actually pretty nice. Of course, you get a little branding there, which is always fun. But secondly, these guys can easily be popped off here. This hook and loop just comes undone, of course, on the sides here first. Or in the ends, I should say. And that allows you to take these guys off and give them a nice little wash. Maybe they're getting dirty just from our kayaks, getting that dirty water up on there and kind of degrading them. Makes it real easy to pop those off and clean them. And that does a great job too, preventing these marine foams from getting too wet. The one thing I could see, those would probably be a little more porous than you might want. They might start getting a little bit of water buildup, so that can be nice to go ahead and combat any kind of gross mildew kind of buildup we might have. Now, we already kind of talked about this front plate, making it a little easier to get that shifted on there. And of course, you have your little insert for your T-less load assist. Moving our way to the top, though, we kind of talked about this little plastic tab up here. That makes it really easy to actually set your strap in here first. Kind of dangle it to the side, and that way when you get your kayak set up on here, all you got to do, walk it over that keel, and it'll be right in position, which is great. Now, talking about that J-style kayak carrier, though, the big advantages of it is going to be its adjustability, right? So on the side here, we have our integrated teeth platform, and all we got to do is simply pop that like so. That's going to go ahead and let us bring it back, down, and all the way up. For now, for today's purposes, I want to go ahead and just give us our max height here. So when we are all the way at the top here today, that is going to be our max height. Let's go ahead and see now from the top of my crossbar here today to the very top with the plastic tab. Looks like it's going to be right at 20 inches. Without that plastic tab, you're looking at about 19.5 inches to the very top here. Now, it is going to be made of aluminum as well, which is nice. So we know it's going to be nice and corrosion resistant. However, you have some bolts and stuff that might just take a little bit of service when those seasons start changing, of course. But as long as we are watching it and cleaning it, we should be in a good spot. We can actually bring this guy down all the way, though, here and get it nice and flush. That's going to really reduce our height, as you guys can see. And now from our roof rack system here today to the very end. Looks like it's gonna be putting us about 5 1/4 inches, just a hair underneath that 1/4, which is gonna be nice. Definitely adding just a little bit of height here. I think most of us are gonna have a pretty decent time pulling this in the garage, especially going through this drive-through shouldn't be an issue. The one thing I will say to it though, guys, not a lot of great security measures, right? That's gonna be the big issue with these guys. And personally, I think that's kind of necessary if you're really worried about, of course, your carrier leaving your vehicle. Now, one thing about it, how it mounts on here is very, very easy with that. So we have just a little flange system here with some bolts that are ran through. Now, I'll say sometimes it can be kind of a pain to set up. If you have very thick crossbars, it's definitely something to kind of watch. One thing you can always do to combat that is actually get yourself some longer bolts here. As you guys can see, let me go ahead and try to give myself a little rough estimate here. I got about maybe 2 inches or so or more between the roof here and where I'm at. So I could go ahead, grab myself a longer bolt and run it through if you're having a lot of issues. Here today we are on a Yakima Jetstream Aero bar. So these are pretty much gonna be what's going standard in the future. These Aero styles are great, of course, and you guys can see it clamps on there with no problem. So only issue you might have, thicker crossbars, can always be solved with some longer bolts. Doesn't take too much time. Now that actual mounting though, utilizing these hand knobs can be somewhat of a pain sometimes. Again, best thing to do, try to let both sides down on or evenly. Otherwise, you're gonna have a kind of hilter-kilter plate, and that flange is gonna have a hard time going into practice. So all you gotta do, go ahead, bring both those bolts down, bring them back up, tighten them on. It doesn't take more than 2 minutes for each side, which is great. The only thing with it could be kind of a pain to have to do it over and over and over again. So if you find yourself taking this off, putting it inside your vehicle, and you're really just not liking that, if you want that security measure, highly recommend taking a look at the Yakima J-Lo. That's going to give you a nice little locking cord feature, which is going to allow you to actually keep this on your carrier when you leave it unattended. And of course, utilize Yakima's same key system, can be a nice little added benefit. Well guys, the downloader definitely gives you some distinct advantages. I really do like how that load assist is an option for ourselves, which is definitely a huge advantage when you're comparing it to other J-style carriers. Again though, you can always kind of look at all those really cool load assist options if you are really having trouble. The Tiguan, definitely somewhat of a larger vehicle, not quite like a sedan. You are definitely having to get it up there. So feel no shame in needing to get one of those guys. They are awesome as well. I've used them a couple times now. Definitely am a huge fan of them. So they do work really, really well, which is great for us. Again though, the Malone downloader, great little option. I like that T-less load assist if I need it. And again, it's really, really easy to use. Now these guys are all very similar. However, I really do like that plastic tab at the top. Makes it really easy to load it up, and is definitely a viable option if you guys are comparing this between all of your J-style carriers. Well guys, I think that about does it for our look at the Malone downloader J-style kayak carrier here today on our 2021 Volkswagen Tiguan. I'm Bobby. Thank you for watching.